so, we'd like to invite you to just close your eyes, relax, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Ganapataye namo namaha. Ganapataye namo namaha. Ganapataye namo namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Ganapataye namo namaha. 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 Omega Dantaya Vidmahi Vakrajundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat. Ganapataye namo namaha. 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 Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananatha Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Ganapataye namo namaha. 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 Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. 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 Shuklam Bharadram Vishnu Sasivarnam Chaturvujam Prasannavadaram Dhyaye Sarvavignyopashantaye. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo
Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online Satsang. Satsang being a Sanskrit word that means community of truth. Any gathering of two or more people who are on the path together, seeking truth, seeking awakening, the flowering of the heart, you have a Satsang. And we're strengthened when we come together with other people who are awakened or awakening. Our collective presence is multiplied exponentially. Our experience of the presence, our strength, our insight. We can share our breakthroughs, our challenges, and the obstacles that we face, and we're greatly assisted by having our brothers and sisters connect with us like this. We hope that you are part of a spiritual community locally, and it's most important that you're actually sharing that process of awakening. That seems to give us more in common than if we're from the same spiritual teacher or teachings or belief system or religious background. It's that we are experiencing awakening. And so important to the world right now, our global civilization of competition, conflict, and war has done nothing but do the same thing for countless thousands of years, except there are a lot more of us now. And it's so important that we awaken and our hearts flower, and that we give birth to a new world rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. That requires a shift in the collective consciousness of humanity. That will be brought about as we awaken one at a time. And as each one of us awakens, the collective is starting to shift and tip from conflict and despair into harmony and cooperation, oneness and peace. So thank you for saying yes and being part of that collective journey. We shared during the webcast the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a form of spiritual transmission of divine presence, grace, light, awakened consciousness that catalyzes in the receiver the process of awakening. If that process is already underway, it dissolves blocks, it hastens the journey. If you're already awakened, it'll take you deeper, because awakening is not a destination, it's an ongoing journey. Really, there's no end to it. So glad you're along for the ride. Please join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing. This blessing comes directly from Divine Source. The Divine told us in showing it to me and Suzanne 8 years ago that it doesn't belong to any avatar or master or teacher. It belongs to the Divine itself. And it isn't filtered through a spiritual hierarchy or a master, a saint, or an avatar. It's a direct gift from Divine Source to whomever the Divine chooses to give it to, as a gift of pure unconditional love and grace. Because it's grace, which is a gift that's not paid for, deserved, or worked for, the Divine said, don't charge for this. It's absolutely free. And if people want to share the Flowering Heart Blessing with others, all they need to do is receive it once. Once you've received it, which is happening right now if you're new to this, you can simply invite the Divine Presence to pour it through you to whomever you hold in your heart with intent. And that could be at any distance in meditation or prayer, because this is spiritual presence, and spirit is unbounded by time or space. So it's a very beautiful thing. And there are many other beautiful forms of blessing that many or all of you may have experienced. I think what sets this one apart is that it's free, that it is not filtered through an organization or belief system, and it focuses on awakening our inner divinity. Our true divine self within is what we've been looking for. It is already enlightenment itself and fully divine. It is the divine within us. And once we awaken to that, once that is activated and begins to unfold and flower within us, it's all going to happen. Just a matter of time. And we find, because we're focused on the inner source. There's nothing that we need from the outside that anyone could give us. I mean, insights and teachings and encouragement, yes, that's important. But many times we become overly attached and dependent on a particular teacher or external place of power, things outside of ourselves that we've thought or even been told can give us what we're looking for when we are what we're looking for. And the outside is just a mirror of the inner world. The outer world's a reflection of the inner world. So whatever is being presented by a master, a teacher, a guru, an avatar is already inside of you and simply needs to be awakened and begin to flower. And that's the flowering of the heart. So, glad you're here. Please join us in sending the flowering heart blessing to all the participants, those who are with us this evening live, and those who will be viewing this in the next week, before next Monday. Many times, I say that each week, but it's true, many times more people watch this and tune in and leave likes and loves and sometimes comments in the week after these are recorded, because they have other responsibilities at this particular time. And people join us from all over the world as well, which is great. It's a way that we can really connect in oneness without boundaries of distance or ideology or national boundaries or any of that other nonsense. So glad you're here. If you're here, if you're not here, you wouldn't be hearing this. If you're here, whether it's now or in the days ahead, give us a like or a love if you're on Facebook Live. If you're watching it on Vimeo, you can just enter a comment in the chat. Hi, this is my name, I'm here. That's all. And we go in and look. I do it every day. And I send special love and blessings to those who drop in and let us know you were there. Yep. So, please do that. Loves are the most favorite, but thumbs up are great too. So, we open it at this point to questions and answers, discussion about the spiritual journey, things you may be experiencing in your journey. And I see More already left one. We're going to come right back to it after and take other questions. Well, I read to you a list of 19 quotes about, not the advertisement that popped up, but truth and the pursuit of it. I take these quotes each week, most weeks, from a website called inspiringquotes.com. And this little article and 19 quotes about truth and the pursuit of it that kind of grabbed me this week. I get lists of these quotes every day from this website. It's really great. The author of this little article is Tony Donnell. Tony's an English writer of nonfiction and fiction, living on the edge of the Amazon jungle. That's one of my favorite places on earth. So thank you very much, Brother Tony. And here's what he wrote. The concept of truth is a fundamental part of our collective and individual consciousness as humans. It drives our science and philosophy, pushes us toward new discoveries, and informs or influences every aspect, big and small, of our daily lives. We seek it, tell it, bend it, and hide it. It can be concrete or questioned, fixed or subjective. It's no surprise, then, that truth, as both an idea and an ideal, has long been a common subject in art and in discourse. Its very nature has been questioned and debated in everything from ancient texts to the New Testament to the Matrix. And while the truth is generally considered a good and noble thing, it's not always easy to hear. That conflict is evident in these 19 quotes about the truth and our pursuit of it, from philosophers, poets, politicians, and more. As soon as I read this article, I had this horrible notion that I was about to stumble onto an Einstein quote that truth is relative. And if that happened, I was just going to shut the page. It's not one of them. Okay, I'll tell you, you don't need to worry about that. So here's the first quote. Those who know the truth are not equal to those who love the truth. Those who love the truth are not equal to those who delight in it. Confucius. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Jesus, John 8:32. It is said that truth is often eclipsed, but never extinguished. Livy, Roman historian. Truth is truth to the end of reckoning. William Shakespeare. Truth can never be told so as to be understood and not be believed. William Blake. Beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. John Keats. Rather than love, than money, than fame, give me truth. Henry David Thoreau. There's nothing so kingly as kindness, and nothing so royal as truth. Alice Carey, poet. Truth, like gold, is to be obtained not by its growth, but by washing away from it all that is not gold. Leo Tolstoy. The fact that a great many people believe something is no guarantee of its truth. W. Somerset Maugham. Boy, that's a good one. The fact that a great many people believe something is no guarantee of its truth. Especially these days, huh? Most writers regard the truth as their most valuable possession, and therefore are most economical in its use. Mark Twain. The truth is incontrovertible. Panic may resent it. Ignorance may deride it. Malice may distort it. But there it is. Winston Churchill. Anyone who doesn't take truth seriously in small matters cannot be trusted in large ones either. Albert Einstein. There you go. Anyone who doesn't take truth seriously in small matters cannot be trusted in large ones either. So true. Speaking of truth. One thing took deep root in me. The conviction that morality is the basis of things, and that truth is the substance of all morality. Mahatma Gandhi. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. That is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. Martin Luther King Jr. I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it is for or against. Malcolm X. The truth isn't always beauty, but the hunger for it is. Nadine Gordimer, Nobel Prize winning author. This is what I'm learning at 82 years old. The main thing is to be in love with the search for truth. Maya Angelou. We learned about honesty and integrity, that the truth matters, that you don't take shortcuts or play by your own set of rules, And success doesn't count unless you earn it fair and square. Michelle Obama. Nice.
Very nice.
So let's go back and look at what More had to say. I heard about the ascension symptoms that people are feeling now, and also animals. Could you tell us about it? Yeah, there's been talk about ascension symptoms for the last
Long time.
going on 20 years.
Yeah.
But that's because so many people are experiencing ascension. In this case, by ascension, we don't mean like Christ ascended from the physical world into the spirit world, but it is part of that. What we're experiencing, many of us, is the ascension of consciousness. Our consciousness is getting higher and higher and higher. And that involves higher frequency, vibrations in consciousness. I mean, awareness is pure spirit. So it's not actually energy, it just is. But consciousness involves energy, and energy is frequency, like electricity. And the slower the frequency, the deeper the brain waves are. So I started doing biofeedback research and training others in it back in the early 1970s at the Claremont colleges in California. And wow, it was amazing. But we had some very expensive EEG and biofeedback equipment. Using that, we could train people to slow down their brain waves. Most people's consciousness is vibrating in the beta range. And beta waves are faster, and so the mind is just moving a lot. The mind is moving a lot. And it can be, as beta, high beta can be agitating, you know, if you're just, your mind is racing. So in meditation, generally people are taught to relax and let the mind, the thought stream slow down. And so the next range of brain waves is alpha, which is slower. And alpha is like going with the flow. It's like just letting go and flowing. And so it's very nice. It's like floating downstream. And the next frequency below that are theta waves. Theta waves are associated with dreaming, vivid dreaming, visions, creativity. It's an even more relaxed state than alpha, but the visionary faculties are beginning to kick in. And then the next range below that, the lowest, slowest, is delta. And deltas, the waves get so slow that it's almost a flat line. And what for most people in the delta range of brain waves, people are virtually in like a coma. They're in deep sleep where there are no dreams. If there are dreams happening, that's up in theta, you know? So in delta, most people are completely unconscious, although that might be a desirable place with consciousness in deep, deep meditation with no thought. I discovered when I was doing all that biofeedback training, and also a young student of Taoist meditation and internal alchemy, I was working with an experiment with kids in public school. They let us in with our machines to train these dyslexic kids how to relax their brain waves. And we actually discovered that they were able to cope with their dyslexia much better in a relaxed brainwave state than in beta, that agitated state, which tends to make things, exacerbate things. Anyway, there was one kid that was really nervous about me putting those electrodes on his head. couldn't blame him, it was weird. So I said, look, I'll show you, I'll do it. And so I put the greased up gel, put gel on the electrodes, put them on my head, got myself all strapped in, turned on basically it was an EEG with tonal feedback. When you hit the target range of brain waves, you'd hear it. And so you could tune into what you were doing with your brain. So I'm showing this kid that, and I turn it on, and my prefrontal cortex was in delta. And yet, I was carrying on a conversation with him. I should have been unconscious on the floor. What was happening? Well, I'm not really sure now. It's been a lot of years, but it was really that I could get into delta in meditation and function normally, which is interesting. Now there's a whole new range of brain waves, gamma brain waves. Not gamma rays, they kill you. Gamma waves. And there were always gamma waves present in people's brains, but the equipment we had back in the 70s wasn't sensitive enough to really measure it. So we just thought people were somewhere between delta and beta. And beta being in its high range, kind of nervous and agitated. But recently, we've begun to measure gamma waves, which are like beta taken way through the roof. Some people call it high beta, but it's higher than beta. It's 30, 40 hertz per second and above. And the gamma waves are associated with oneness, with unitive consciousness. It's an aspect of cognitive activity that can take all the sensory input and put it together in unity. And those waves, those gamma waves that we now are able to measure easily, are occurring in very powerful ways in the brains of people who have been meditating for many decades. Tibetan monks, Zen monks, TM meditators, anybody that's been doing deep meditation for many years, that those gamma waves get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger as they are coming into a place of cognitive resonance and oneness within their being. Okay, but here's the deal. So we're talking now about raising people's vibrations. That's ascension. Not lowering it down to alpha, theta, and delta. We're raising the frequencies of people's consciousness. So in order to get from the normal beta state into gamma, super oneness, super consciousness, the beta state has to be accelerated, the frequency, to a very high level of what most people would find agitating. The whole world right now is being sort of uplifted, especially those on the spiritual path. And so we might experience what's called ascension symptoms, which could be what?
Dizziness, vertigo, headaches, extremely tired.
Emotional upheaval.
Right.
I've never liked giving lists of the ascension symptoms on our webcasts, and we've been asked over the years to talk about it because it can be suggestive. You know, if we say, well, if you meditate a lot and a lot of energy is being released, you might begin to experience headaches in certain energy gates.
But there's so many other things that can cause all of those symptoms.
And if we tell you that, then you might look for it and find it. In other words, it might plant a suggestion. But there are all these ascension symptoms where people feel very giddy. I mean, just dizzy on all kinds of levels. Everything is shifting, and everything is kind of dizzying, which can produce things in your body, all kinds of symptoms in the body. There can be vibrations, feelings of electricity, heat, cold, shaking, spasming. We could just go down the list, but not wanting to really do it. That can be, but with a good spiritual guide, if you were to meet with me one-on-one and say, I'm experiencing this here in my body, I'm experiencing this kind of thing going on in my thoughts, my brain, I could say, oh, those are ascension symptoms. In other words, even though it might be a little unpleasant, these are signs that your vibrational frequency is rising. When it gets to a certain point, we access gamma, and there is bliss. And it's not like zero consciousness like delta, it's like cosmic consciousness and super consciousness, which is what needs to happen for all these other things we're experiencing to be integrated. Maybe that's what was happening back in the early 1970s when I was with that kid, and my brain waves were in delta, but or they were measured that way, but I was still putting all these highly conscious things together and communicating them. Maybe probably was the effect of gamma, which helps to create resonance of all these different parts of cognitive input that we're getting and put it together in oneness. So, and yes, and animals too can experience these things, especially if they hang out around us. Animals are very conscious beings, and their consciousness can be raised as well. Just ask any of the cats that have lived with me and Suzanne over the years. But that's true with horses and dogs, and I think that it may be happening with plants as well, because plants are conscious beings, and they're already in unitive consciousness. Plants have no ego. There's no separation. They're collective communal beings that share consciousness. But when you sing to a plant, when you share love with a plant, it will thrive. If you subject it to anger, negative emotion, dissonant rock music, the kind that just sort of chops at your consciousness, plants will just really, they'll succumb. And they don't thrive. So we can see even in the plant kingdom, if you will, the effects of ascension and higher consciousness affecting everything. So right now on planet Earth, oh my gosh, where there's so much fire and so much, just climate weirdness and human weirdness and such polarization and division, and structures are trembling all over the world, and economies are trembling, and the food chain's trembling, and the ocean's trembling. There's all this stuff going on. A lot of that is because the outer world is a reflection of the inner world, and as there's a conscious ascension of energy and awareness, it's bringing up all the undigested, unprocessed, subconscious material in the human soul, individually and collectively, and we're seeing that reflected around the world. The good news is these are symptoms of humanity emerging from its previous state and its current state into something new, from competition, conflict, and war to cooperation, harmony, and peace. So, want to add to it?
Nope.
Yeah, ascension symptoms. And Danny Bell says, how to integrate this phenomenon of ascension into regaining stability at that higher frequency living. Well, blessing helps. You may have noticed that these online webcasts help because we're just soaking in the presence and the flowering heart blessing. But hands-on blessing, if you're part of a blessing circle or a group that meets on a regular basis, these divine blessings, and the flowering heart blessing is just one of them. There are many beautiful forms of blessing. If you receive blessings regularly, it helps to clear the static, calm the waves of ascension, and make it a bit easier. But the most accessible tool has always been meditation. Meditation, a good meditation. There's so many different kinds, but the kind of meditation where you just let go and let whatever comes up come up without resistance, without reflecting on it, without retaining it, just let it come up and let it go and relax. That kind of meditation helps us to find a relaxed stability right in the midst of the storm. So all this stuff can be coming up, and there can be all these waves coming through us, but we're just letting it be. Whispering words of wisdom, let it be. And that's the best meditation, it's spontaneous and just, but taking the time to just let the world go, to let everything go for 20 minutes. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to attain because you've already got it inside of you. There's nothing to figure out. For just 20 minutes, nothing to think about, nothing to do, nowhere to go. And if you will let yourself do that, and in the beginning it may require discipline, over a month or so of doing that every day, you will have acquired a new ability, which is to just let it all go. That skill, without reflecting, without resisting, without reasoning, without retaining, it is a great skill. And it takes your active effort to cultivate it. Usually, if you'll spend 20 minutes once or twice a day doing that, either centering prayer or TM, or just what I described, which some people call awakening meditation, Sahaj Dhyana, just relaxing in the presence and letting it all go. The mind will come with all kinds of temptations. Well, what about this? What about 20 minutes from now? How are you going to deal with that situation? Later. Just here now. Here now. Let go.
Another thing that's
Wait,
really
21 days of doing that every day once or twice is usually enough to establish the habit. Go ahead.
Another thing that's really helpful is to get out in nature. Nature's already in balance, and so I would recommend going out into nature, and I know you do because you've got a great new home office set up, but just no electronics on you, no phone, no radio, no electronic distractions, and just really be present and be aware with your steps and your breathing and the birds singing or the crickets or whatever location you're in. What is nature doing, and how are you in harmony with that, and how is it in harmony with itself? I think the more that we can spend some time, preferably a few times a day, at least a few times a week, of getting into the practice of just being in nature and trying to be just very present and mindful without thinking, oh, I just heard this on the news, I have to call this person later, I have to be here then. Just let everything drop away and spend that time in nature noticing. I found that's been an important practice for me because things are so crazy right now, and it's so easy, like even when we're walking on the beach, we don't take our phones with it, but it's so easy to have what happened in the day running through your head. And I find that if I listen to the waves and I watch the birds and I hear the sounds around me and feel my feet in the sand, all of those experiences brings me into a very deep sense of balance and well-being, and that all is right in the world. And the more people that can slip into that space, even if it's just briefly and a few times a week, or if you can get into it once a day or more, then we start to see a different reality, and that will help us manifest the change that we want to see, where everything is all in balance.
That was one of the main prescriptions that St. John of the Cross, who was a great mystic, but a spiritual director for thousands of young people on the spiritual journey, if somebody got into the dark night of the soul where things were just dark, he'd send them out to the country for a holiday. He'd send them out in the garden to walk in the woods. You got to lighten up and get playful before we can go any farther. But there's some scientific insight into this. You may not have a beach. The woods will do. Any nature will do. But
Park.
what's a couple of things that we've learned is that in nature, there is very naturally, I mean, like at the beach, there's the sound of the waves. But there's also in the beach, in the woods, out in nature, are lots of negative ions. Negative ions have been shown to make people feel better. You just are uplifted. And our homes and our buildings destroy negative ions just coming over the threshold of a door or a windowsill. Negative ions don't get in from the outside. So our homes have very few negative ions, or our office buildings, or any of our buildings. Very few negative ions. A lot of positive ions. Positive ions make people feel depressed. I used to have an ion generator that I could go from strong negative to strong positive. And if I wanted us all to feel good, I'd set it on negative ions. If the company stayed too long, you could just turn it all the way to positive and everybody'd feel like, I'm ready to get out of here. But they use the ion generators in grocery stores because you go in there and suddenly you feel good and your appetite's nice and you're seeing all that food and you want to buy it. I mean, we're actually being manipulated. Another thing that happens in nature is the natural Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic frequency, which is natural to the surface of planet Earth, which is roughly 7.83 hertz per second. I said roughly. Specifically, the Schumann resonance is 7.83 hertz. And indoors that all gets skewed, and in civilization we're exposed to so many destructive electromagnetic frequencies that are not that. So when you go out in nature, you're suddenly immersed in 7.83 hertz, and it just sort of penetrates your being, and you feel nice. And it's more than that you feel nice, you come into harmony with all that is. And interestingly, 7.83 hertz is the frequency of theta waves, which is what I was telling you, that is filled with visionary ideas and visions and dreams. So it's our natural state, actually, but we're getting so messed with so many electromagnetic frequencies on the planet. So immerse yourself in some negative ions and some 7.83 hertz electrical magnetic energy, and it will help a lot with the ascension process and the process of awakening that the planet's going through. And that's that. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, great.
See what you instigated, Maury? It's awesome. Thank you. And Danny? Yep. So, let us dive a little deeper. Close your eyes and invoke the presence and begin to drink in the blessing that is pouring out to you in this very moment. The divine presence lives within you in all of its fullness, in all of its grandeur, in all of its majesty. The whole divine source is within you. And this divine is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-wise, and pure unconditional love. Before we ever learn to love ourselves, the divine has always loved us with unconditional love. There's no distance between you and the light of the divine presence. That is a construct of the mind that isn't real. But we've been programmed hugely on this planet to feel that that God is distant, that God is judging us, that God is watching us and waiting for us to become deserving enough or holy enough to experience the light of the presence. And that's just not true. So open your heart and just drink in the flowering heart blessing that is pouring out within you, pouring down from above you, pouring into you from all directions. This divine presence yearns to embrace you in love and draw you into oneness, to release you from suffering, to illuminate your soul and heal your physical body and your relationships, to flood your life with goodness and prosperity and abundance on every level. It already knows what you need, what you want, so just relax and drink it in. Receive. Just keep drinking it in. If you have a special problem or burden you're carrying, gently release it now to the presence, who knows exactly what to do and has the wisdom and the power to do it. Just release it and relax and drink in the grace that's pouring out to you. Tonight, we're going to move right into the light meditation, so we invite you, when you're ready, to open your eyes now and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me as we enter the light meditation together. During this time, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of grace, light, and love. And it pours through every bit of our being to you, especially through our eyes, the doorways of the soul. So just keep looking at least one of our eyes. That's all you need to do. Just keep looking, and the light streams out through our eyes, into your eyes, through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, causing the light of awakening, the flames of divine love to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within you. Just keep looking. Close your eyes now and meditate with us for a few more minutes as the grace we've received settles within us. Now keep meditating as long as it feels good to you, or lie down nearby in Shavasana, which is to lie on your back with your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward, just dissolve in the presence with gratitude. I did forget to mention this coming Sunday is our monthly interfaith communion with the Cosmic Christ, and we're going to be focusing on the power of intention. I think you might really like it. Join us 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can come in right here to Flowering Heart Center, or you can tune in on Facebook Live, Vimeo, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're everywhere. Love you guys very much, very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we cross paths again, know that the divine within us beholds the divine in you.